Hi guys, I'm Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. Now, as you can see, I have got a rather flat puncture, and yes, it is the bane of every cyclist's life. I'm going to be helping you out by showing you how to fix a puncture. Now, whether you are a commuter to work or someone who trains hours a week, this tip will be helpful for you either way. First things first, I'm going to talk through the equipment that you will need to fix your puncture. First off, you will need a couple of tyre levers. Always have maybe 3 on you in case one of them snaps. You're going to need some rubber glue as well. So this is called rubber cement, but you can get inner tube glue off Amazon for like, I don't know, £2 for 4 to 6, I think, which is really good. And the most important, well, not the most important thing, but the thing that you can't do without, obviously, is your tyre patch or inner tube patch. For goodness sake. And finally, you're going to need your track pump or a hand pump, whether you're on the side of the road. But without further ado, let's grab our tyre lever. And also, whilst we're at it, unscrew your valve. Now, yes, you might be thinking, I've already got a puncture, my tyre's already flat. Now, yes, it is, but it's still holding air in there because it creates some sort of vacuumy thing. Push down on the tyre, let as much air out as possible, push that valve in as well. Then you're going to screw the valve back up. Now this will stop the air from seeping back in or being sucked back into the inner tube. So basically you don't actually need your tyre lever right now. I don't know why I suggested to pick that up. So don't pick that up first. You can put that back down. But now we're going to move to the tyre, okay? So with the tyre, we've got a bead that sits on the side of the rim. Now there's a hook on the rim and you want to push the tyre wall away from the hook of the rim, which is obviously inside the rim. But yeah, you want to push it off and you'll hear it pop, all right? Now, I've already done this, and this has been sat in the shed like this for a while, so it's already kind of come off the rim. If you then push the tyre all the way round, off the rim, this will then push the bead of the tyre into the trough of the rim, which means that because the trough is seated a bit lower in the rim, it means that the circumference of the tyre actually becomes slightly smaller. Now, that's quite confusing, I know, but it just means that there's less tension on the bead, so it makes it easier to prise the tyre off, which I will show you in a minute. Once you've done this all the way around, flip the tyre or the wheel round and do it exactly the same on the other side. Pop in that bead into the middle of the rim. So you can now grab your tyre lever and insert the tyre lever under the tyre bead, and you're going to pull down or push down. Once you've done that, you're going to try, and I've kind of done this a little bit too close to the valve here, but you're going to try and hook it round one of the spokes in the wheel. This will allow you to actually let go of the tyre lever. It will stay in place. Sometimes it does ping off. Get your second tyre lever, get underneath the bead of the tyre. Now, the closer you are to that other tyre lever, the better. But as to say, this can take a couple of attempts. Like that. There we go. We've got that done. Gonna do it again for a third time to really get this tyre going. Once you've got quite a bit of the tyre off the rim, you can flip your tyre lever over, insert it underneath the tyre wall, and then push down using this tyre lever. Oh, be careful with that because it can hurt. And push this, like force the tyre wall or the bead off the rim. That's normal. That other tyre lever will come off because the pressure has been relieved of this area. Now you can actually take this tyre lever out once you've got a good amount of tyre bead showing. Get your hand underneath the tyre now, and you can use your hand to take the rest of it off. Now, this is much better than using the tyre lever at this point because you've got less chance of actually pinching the inner tube up inside the tyre against that tyre lever. Once your tyre is finally off, you are going to take your tyre, not your tyre, your inner tube, out of the wheel, like so. If you are on the roadside, try not to get your inner tube on the floor because it could be gritty. So actually hold it up here with your other hand. Now, when you get to the valve, obviously it's not coming out because the valve's there. Now, sometimes, most of the time, you will have a screw on your valve, which makes pumping things up a lot easier. So don't lose the screw, okay? Undo this screw thing, put it somewhere safe, and then you can pull the tyre up and over the top of the tube, then pull the tube or the valve out and put the tube somewhere safe. We are now left with a tubeless wheel. and tyre, which means that we can search for that stupidly annoying and irritating object in the tyre, whether that's a bit of glass, a thorn, or sometimes, and annoyingly, the most annoying scenario is when there's nothing at all, because you always don't know whether there could be something super small that's caused your puncture and you just can't find it. And then you have that nerve-wracking experience with your fixed tube or your new tube going, I could potentially get another one because I didn't find anything in the tyre and it may still be in there. But yeah, so right now I can't find anything in my tyre, but this is the backup test, okay, of where that puncture it really is, okay? Put your wheel somewhere safe, all right? Without chipping your mum's walls if you're doing it inside. You're gonna grab your track pump, all right? Grab your inner tube and pump it up, okay? So, you wanna pump it up a fairly decent amount, nothing too drastic though, because you don't wanna, obviously, stretch the tube or make it pop, which is quite hard to do. Better to have no risk than some risk. Do the valve up so you don't accidentally tap it in. Also, the valve might actually be pushing in a tiny little bit so that the air is seeping out. The outside of the inner tube is the part that you want to be checking. Because if you think about it, nothing's puncturing the underside of your inner tube unless you've got a bit of grit, gravel, dirt, I don't know. You could have glass in there. Very, very rare that you're gonna have glass in your rim bed thing, but you could. So always start off on the top side of your tube because it's a lot quicker than having to rotate the whole thing round and round. And would you look at that? I actually found the puncture. I couldn't find the puncture and I actually used a needle to make a puncture so I could actually make the video. That was in the previous take that I kind of waffled on a bit too much, which is kind of what I'm doing now. So I need to get back to the point. Anyway, so if you can't actually find the hole on your inner tube, run a sink full of water, put your inner tube in the sink and then move it around under the water, and if you see the bubbles coming out from the tube, that's where the hole is. Mind blowing, I know, honestly. Where the hole is in your inner tube, you are going to locate the valve with your thumb on the hole. With your wheel, you are going to line up the valve with the valve hole in the wheel. So wheel, inner tube, valve lined up with the valve hole, okay, which is here. Now, if we come round to where the hole is, that's where the hole or the object will be in the tyre. Yes, it might be the other side, but then that's when we flip the inner tube over, line it up with the valve, which is there. We follow it through, and that's where the hole will be on the tyre, or not the hole, but the object again. That might just save you a bit and actually allow you to pinpoint exactly where on the tyre the object was that punctured your tube. Now, I've actually lost that hole. Bear with. There it is. We're gonna grab our sandpaper. With your sandpaper, you're simply just gonna rub away the top layer of the rubber on the inner tube, basically. Now this creates a nice rough surface for the glue to set on, and also for the tube to, the sticker, Tommy, the patch. For the patch to actually grip onto, if that makes sense, or bond onto. Don't obviously over sand the tube because you might wear it out too much. Find that hole again, put your sandpaper away. Hopefully you don't need that again. Before we let the air out of our valve, we're going to grab the glue. You won't need much of this at this point. I'm gonna unscrew the cap and fantastic, it's empty. That's so annoying. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Also, it's raining, so I've got to get the washing in. We're gonna grab our glue, and where the hole is, we're gonna dollop a bit of glue right onto the tube. Now there it is. You can actually find it better when there's a bit of glue over the hole. It might take a couple of attempts to get it perfect. Now we've done that, let the air out the valve. The hole is not visible now, but we know where it is because we've put a bit of glue there. So what we can do now is get the rest of our glue and work our way around the hole. Now, I've done this a few times, so I actually know the diameter really of the patch. Put enough glue on there to obviously cover the inner tube ready for the patch to go onto. Do it evenly proportionate, if that makes sense. Like however far right you go back to the center, and then you go to the left, the same, so that you kind of have the hole in the direct center of the patch, so that there's no weak spots of the patch for the air to then work its way out of in the future, which shouldn't happen, but it can do. I think that'll do. So what we're going to do for the next step is blow on the glue and just let it dry out a bit faster. A little quick tip there, you know, don't just leave it because you'll forget about it, which has happened before. And yes, it's been really annoying because I've had to pick glue off the inner tube and that took quite a long time. So what this does is this actually makes the glue really sticky. When it dries, it just allows the patch to bond that much better. So don't rush into putting the patch straight onto that fresh glue because it will just slide around and you'll be there pinching, like pressing that patch onto the inner tube for a good couple of minutes and it can actually hurt your thumb. So don't do that. What I like to do in this time is once I've blown on it for a little bit to just get the drying process started, I drape the inner tube over my pump like that. Now I grab my patch and I take the back of the patch off, which is the tin foily piece, to protect it from dust and dirt. Now once that's exposed, now this is quite how quick this is, very carefully locate the center of that glue patch because once it makes contact, it's going to be very sticky and hard to remove. As soon as you get it on there, get your nail and push down and out. Now this will draw out any air bubbles that are underneath that patch, which will weaken the seal for that little hole in the inner tube. Then you're just going to really press down, okay, on that patch. Really, really press down. You can even get a stool, okay? Put the patch and the tube on the floor, get the stool leg, and simply just kneel on it like that. And or you can actually just be normal and sit on the stool, you know? Yeah, that might be a better option for you. So yeah, once you've done that, simply start working away at peeling it off. This can be quite tricky to do because you can actually start peeling the patch off and not the plastic wrap that is over the patch. For example, it's happening now. Get your nail, get the end of the patch and just kind of scrape it away from that plastic, okay? And then you just work your way back around and push it down onto the rubber and then you can pull it off, which completely failed because that plastic is very fragile and it's just ripped. But the patch is on there, which is good. Once you've done this, you can, and this is by choice, you can get some chalk and you can rub the, I'm trying to get this last bit of plastic off. You can rub the chalk on the outside of the patch and also on the patch, I guess, because this glue may still be a little bit damp, which means that when you put the patch up against the tyre when it's pumped up, it can stick to the tyre. So then when you pull the inner tube out to repair it again for another puncture, you can either really unluckily pull the patch or rip the patch off the tyre, or the inner tube's just actually like really hard to get out, which yeah, it just makes life a bit easier. But I find that if you don't put too much glue on there, it's not too much of an issue. That should be good now. If you aren't in a rush, leave this to dry for a good 12 hours, I reckon. So leave it overnight. If you are in a rush, it probably will hold because obviously the pressure from inside the tube is pushing the patch up against that tyre, meaning that it is pushing it onto the surface of the inner tube. Anyway, I'm going to put the inner tube back in the tyre. Now, we literally repeat the process at the start, but in reverse. So we get our valve, locate the hole on the rim, insert it into the hole, and feed the inner tube into the tyre. Now this part can be quite important because if you end up pinching the tyre, you're gonna have to take the tyre off and repair the another hole you've made. So if you make sure that the inner tube is properly seated within the rim hook edge thing, then you should be good. I like to work my way around from the valve side, okay, and push the bead back on to that rim. Now you will get to the point here where you can't really get it on much further. This is when you go round the inner tube, not the inner tube, the tyre, Tommy. You go round the tyre, making sure that the bead has not popped onto the rim, and this will loosen it up and make it easier to put on. And you'll grab your tyre lever insert it from one end. Make sure your thumb is pushed into this part of the bead, like pushing it in. For example, if I don't have my thumb there and I insert the tie lever and I pop it up, you can see, I don't know if you can see, but this starts coming off. So you're literally going round in circles. So if you have your thumb there, it stops it from coming off the bead as you put the other side back on to the rim. Don't kind of start all the way over here trying to get your tire on, because it ain't gonna work. So do little bits at a time and just pull up. And this can be very tricky and nerve-wracking, because you're just waiting for either the tire lever to snap or for it to ping and hit you in the face. But thankfully, I think, gee whiz, mate. And for the last bit, you want to be in the middle and really insert that thing up there. And then, yeah, simply pull up. Bob's your uncle. Get your track pump again. Insert the valve of your inner tube into your track pump and then start pumping away. When you're pumping the tyre up, you want to actually pump it up quite hard to start with. If you don't, the tyre won't actually sit in the rim properly. The bead won't be in contact with the outer part of the rim. It will actually still be in the trough, which is rather weird, I know. So as you can see, this part of the tyre is sat in there properly. And the difference on this side is you don't have that colour, okay? This part of the bead is still sat in the trough of the rim. To fix this, it's very simple, but you can pump it up to a very high PSI, not extortionately high, but like, I reckon 90 PSI maximum, 80 PSI to be on the safe side. You'll want to hear when you're pumping it up is this pinging noise, which is that bead going from the trough pinging into the sidewall. Now it won't blow up, okay? It's not gonna ping into the sidewall and then ping out over the side. If that's not working, kind of roll the tyre back and try and force that bead to kind of come up. Now this is really tedious, but it does work. I'm just gonna wait here for a second, see if it makes that ping sound so you know what to hit, like listen for. Don't think it's gonna ping. Yeah, it didn't ping. This isn't gonna be the case for all wheels. Now we've finally got a tyre maintaining its shape, really. It's not flat, it's bouncing, which is great because it means our inner tube has not got a hole in it. Now, yes, this video may have taken a little bit longer to put together, but it doesn't mean you can't get this done in 2 to 5 minutes. I promise you that you can. Factors such as getting the tyre off and on again can slow you down, and also whether you can find the hole. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please consider like, sharing and subscribing. If I could do this as a career, that would be fantastic. I love cycling and I love making YouTube videos. So if I could combine the two, that would be absolutely amazing and a dream come true. So yeah, have a great rest of your day and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.